Good morning. Today we have to start sexual mode of reproduction. And in the sexual mode of reproduction, in the chapter How do organisms reproduce? Firstly, we have to define that what is sexual reproduction. The process of reproduction in which the offspring is created by the contribution of male and female body in the form of male gamete and female gamete. That is known as sexual reproduction. In the book, it has been questioned that can alone bull produce the new calves? Then we will see that bull is the male body and the cow is the female body. So there is a necessity of the mating of male bulls and cows, and that sperm and egg will be facilitated to get fertilized, and then only the zygote form, and that zygote will develop and form the embryo, and later on there will be the birth of the calves. Another question in your book, it is asking that can hen produce alone? What is that? Is the chicks. Again, that is the question. Hen is the female bird, and cock is the male chicken. So even if the mating between the male cock and the female hen is not happening, again there will be not the reproduction. Again there will be not the production of the chicks. So that male cock and the hen will be reproducing with each other, and there will be production of the chicks. We know that in this way the characters are getting transferred, and what is that factor? We usually talk that what is the molecular compound which is meant for the carry of the information, or for the inheritance of information from the parental combination to the offsprings. Then we say that is the DNA. And if the DNA is making the chromosomes and nucleoprotein is making the chromosomes, and that chromosomes are coming from the sperms having another set of the chromosome, having another set of the characters or traits, and the characters, and what is I'm saying here that another set of characters which is coming from what is that is the female, that is the egg. That egg will have the another set of characters, another set of the chromosomes. If those two sets of chromosomes are coming down and coming into the form of zygote, and zygote is producing the new ones, again there will be the more chance of variation. And we can see that if the variation is coming in the offsprings and the successive generation, then the set of characters will be increasing, and this set of characters will be giving the more efficiency, more chance of survival of that particular offsprings of that particular species. So, if the question is asked why the sexual mode of reproduction is essential, then we can say that this sexual mode of reproduction brings variation in the offsprings, and that variation is very important to fight with the different adverse condition in the contemporary environmental scenario. The next is here that if the sperm having the 2n set of chromosome, if the sperm having the 2n set of chromosome in 46 chromosome, and if the egg having the 2n set of chromosome, that is the 46 chromosomes. Then what would be the number of chromosome in the offsprings? We know that if the number of chromosomes are, that is the diploid, we can say that 46 number of chromosomes, as we know that in the each and every cell of our body the number of chromosomes are 46. So human body is specialized for the functioning, for the happening of the 46 number of chromosome in each and every cell except reproductive cells. Then what is the mechanism that any animal use for the re-establishment of chromosome? Here the line in your book, it has been written that re-establishment of number of chromosomes is essential for the production of new individuals. Why this re-establishment? As we know that if the sperm have the 46 chromosome and egg have the 46 chromosome, then the new offsprings, the zygote will be forming, and that new offspring which is forming from the zygote will have the 92 number of chromosomes, and that 92 number of chromosomes will have the more altered characters, will have the altered set of the chromosomes, and that will be not going to produce the new individuals of human species. So we have the mechanism, that is the meiotic cell division, and we know that meiotic cell division is a type of cell division in which number of chromosome become half, in which the number of chromosome become half in the offsprings. Meiotic cell division, when the parent cell is going to divide by the meiotic division, then the number of chromosome becomes half to their parental number of chromosomes. That is, and this meiotic division is followed by the reproductive cells, when the primary spermatocyte, which is the father cell, a parent cell of the sperm, which is going to divide and make the sperms, that will follow the meiosis, and after the meiosis the sperms will have the haploid set of the chromosomes, that is the 23. And if the primary oocyte, that is also the parent cell of the mother cell of the egg, that is the female gamete, and that has also the 46 chromosomes, that will be also using the meiotic cell division. And that meiosis and meiotic cell division will be performing what is the reduction of the chromosomes from 46 to 23 in the egg. So now the sperm will have the 23 chromosome. Now the egg will have the 23 chromosomes, and both are fusing and making the 46 zygote. 46 chromosomes in the zygote, and that zygote will be later on dividing and making the embryo, and embryo will be making the new offsprings in the different period of time after getting matured. So this type of things are followed in the sexual mode of reproduction to maintain the chromosome in the each and every generation, and this re-establishment of number of chromosome is done from one generation to another generation in the parent bodies. Now we have to study today, that is the what is the sexual reproduction in flowering plants. So today we will study the highlights of the sexual reproduction in flowering plants. We know that in the flower there are 4 parts. In the flower there are 4 parts. Here it has been shown in your book, figure 8.7, and in this book too it has shown. This is, that the outer part, which is called calyx, this is the outer part which is the greenish in color, that is called calyx, and its one appendage is called sepal, which is greenish whole, and that will be providing the protection to the flower. The colored petals, you are looking here, this colored petals, the colored petals and the whole of the colored petals are called corolla, and its one appendage, one leaf is called petal. Yes, one leaf is called petal. And you know that the 2 essential parts which are found in the flower, which are the androecium and gynoecium. Androecium is the male reproductive organ, and its unit is the stamen, and stamen has the 2 parts. You know that one is the anther, the topmost part, pollen sac is also called, and this is the filamentous structure, fiber-like, that is the filament. You can see here the figure 2 in your book, anther and filament. So anther and filament are 2 parts of the stamen, whereas in the female reproductive part, which is called pistil, having the 3 parts, one is the stigma, which is the rough and sticky part, that is shown here at the top. And second is the hollow cylindrical structure, which I am indicating here by the finger, that is the style. And the lowermost, the basal solanid, which has been shown here, that is the ovary. And inside the ovary, this yellow structure has been shown, that is the ovule. So this is ovary and this is the ovule have been shown in the book, and the lowermost on which the total this 4 floral parts are establishing, that is the thalamus. And thalamus are attached by the branch of the plant body, that is by the pedicel. Pedicel is the stalk by which the flower is attached with the plant body. So this is the different parts of the flowers, and this flower is supposed as the reproductive part of the flower. And we know that we have to study through this figure. We have to study here that how does the pollen grains are transferred to the stigma of the female part, pistil. So by the air, by the animals, by the water, with the different vectors, and we human too, at the time of smelling the flowers, we cause the transfer of pollen grains from the pollen sac to the surface of the stigma, and this the process of transfer of pollen grains from from the anther to the stigma is known as pollination. And if the pollination is happening, if the transfer of pollen grains is happening from pollen sac to the stigma of the shame flower, that is called self-pollination. And if the pollen grains are getting transferred from the pollen sac of one flower to the stigma of another flower of the same plant, and to the stigma of another flower of another plant of same species, that is called cross-pollination. After the pollination, now the pollen grains get germinate and make the tubular structure, which is called pollen tube. And this pollen tube have those 2 male gametes, and these male gametes will be facilitated by the pollen tube to reach to the egg, and where the male gamete is provided to fuse with what is the female gamete egg, and as a result zygote is formed. And that zygote will develop and make the the new individual and the seed or embryo. Firstly embryo, then the seed. And that seed will have the 2 structures. These 2 structures are called cotyledons, and at the time of germination it will be making the lowermost this appendage, that is called radicle, and upper appendages, that is plumule. Plumule will be making the stem, and this radicle will be making the root. And we can see here that this cotyledon is meant for storing the food material for the germination of plants. Thank you.